Alrighty, I'm recording it. Thanks, Chris, for joining. So yeah, I do a lot of iGuides, and we're doing residential sales. We're doing property management in a way. There's a client who has about 100 or so tours with us for apartment units that they rent out around UC Berkeley. And those ones, they want kind of like ongoing hosting.
Yep.
And so I'm, occasionally waking up to like 40 emails saying, hey, the link's going to expire in a few days, and I have to go through and extend the expiration date. So when I was creating this last batch of about 11 units, I noticed that you had facilities management, and I thought that might be more applicable for them particularly. So I went to property industries and I didn't find information about it. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, that's a good catch. It's missing. It's a mystery. But yeah,
I'll find it.
I'll lay it out for you. So basically, facility management is a very broad, overarching term that really refers to anyone managing a building of some sort. Because it's called facility management, the connotation there is that it's maybe bigger properties or multiple properties in portfolio, which is true, but it doesn't have to be. It can be anything, It can be a small office. It can be a rental property. Typically, it is the process of like working with the property and managing it, outside of acquisition. So it's not about like buying or selling a house, obviously, or a property rather, and it's not about necessarily doing big renovations, although that's part of owning any property. It's really all about managing sort of that like day to day. So facility management is really fascinating. We were kind of going down that road a while ago, a little bit more aggressively, and it was neat to learn about because there's a lot of back and forth in facility management in terms of information about the property. So someone who's going to make decisions about that property needs information about that property, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So that means that it's different for everybody, but some people have to go out on site and they have to look at it, and take measurements and document things. And sometimes they call a site, for example. Maybe it's a portfolio manager is working with the building and they have a building manager of some sort, so they'll call and they'll say, okay, I need you to go look at a thing. You got to go get that data for me. And then, it's exactly what you think it is. That data's photos and notes and
crappy measurements or
it's bad measurements,
yeah.
Or just measurements. We shouldn't be mean to people who measure manually, but that's okay. To each their own. Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting. So it's similar problems to what you would see in any industry where people need to go to a property, but that's time consuming. So like residential real estate, insurance claims that people have to go to get information. But in a facility management context, it's just like an ongoing thing for the life of that property. And the iGuide can really, in all of its different forms, be useful in that process, right? Because you can send someone out to document a space visually. I just need eyes on it. I need to see what's going on. And so we have a product for that. And I'll get to it in a second. But then you want to send someone out and they're like, okay, I need you to, capture this area specifically for sort of like square footage or space planning reasons, so not really documenting conditions so much as I need that data so that I can figure out how many desks fit in this area, or where we put the foosball table if it's a cool office, I guess. I'm not sure why that just popped into my head. I guess I want one. Or space planning in terms of like renovation, but like things that are very square footagey, like flooring, like carpets and tiles and that kind of stuff. So furniture, flooring, wall area is also extremely relevant in terms of determining cost for things like paint and wall coverings and all sorts of stuff. Window replacement is also a thing. Sometimes they get damaged or they need replaced for whatever reason. So that's possible too. So the life of that property, there's always these decisions are going to be made, and you need information in order to make those decisions. So I got like that's what it does. It gives you property information.
Yeah.
So on the far end of that, like we'll go all the way to the logical conclusion, and then I'll shut up. But and then in a more extreme way, maybe a property needs to be like fully like fitted out for a restaurant, or I don't know, like needs to be modified heavily to suit a new purpose. And so there's also, that's again, it's the same thing. It's just more data. So as the detail level goes up, sort of the iGuide products change to different ones. Sorry, go.
No, I was just gonna say, as you were talking, I've had, you mentioned windows. I had a client who had this old warehouse. So in the town I'm from, Vallejo, there's Mare Island Navy Base, which closed in '95. There's a property manager that's managing the buildings out there. A lot of the buildings, they have like 7 million square feet of leasable space. And one of the buildings, the building in my background, is actually one of the spaces that I've scanned. And
but you're not actually there. Okay,
I'm not there. Yeah, magic. Magic. So I told them early on, instead of sending these leasing agents out to each building with a lot of these, there's maybe a CEO of a manufacturing company that's based in Germany. They want to set up shop out here. They'll fly out, they'll walk around to like 12 different buildings and say, oh, that's not the one for us. That's not the one for us. And these leasing agents are putting all these steps on their pedometer, and just time consuming. So I said, why don't we scan them? You can have it for marketing purposes. You can have a floor plan if you want to get it leased out. Facilities management if you need to replace a roof, because we've actually done roof surveys for them, or they wanted to replace windows in one building, so I went in and documented it. So yeah, it's super helpful for that. I just wasn't sure when you're creating the iGuide. I've always just chosen real estate transaction and then premium, just because I don't want to offer anything less than the best, I guess is what you want to call it. But now, since I've been working with you guys, there's insurance and restoration, architecture and remodel, and now facilities management. How do those differ from the real estate transaction as far as maybe what you get or what you pay?
Yeah, these are good questions. So interestingly, you are unique in that you're looking at the property at different parts of its life cycle, like it's part of your business. So not everybody does that. Some people stay in their lane. They're like, I'm a real estate photographer. But this order form I'm about to show you, it really suits someone who can take advantage of all those different industries, if you want to call them that, verticals, because we have something for all of them. So yeah, here, I'll walk you through.
You want me to share or allow you to share?
Yes. Oh yeah, it says it's disabled. Yes. Grant me permission and I'll share with you.
You can share. There you go. All right, you should be good to go.
Okay, let's try. Okay, worked. Okay, you can see my screen, I assume? Yes. Yep. All right, so when the industry selector is, by default, it's not selected. So we kind of force you to select something.
Yeah.
And the reason we do that is to make your life easier. This first drop down informs what happens in the second drop down. So it's conditional. Okay. So I'll give you an example. If I pick real estate transaction and then I go here, I'm given the three most common options: iGuide Instant, iGuide Standard, and iGuide Premium. So those are the things that people order for residential real estate and for real estate transactions in general, because they're meant for marketing and they're like indexed on Google and all that stuff. Yep. There is a way to get access to everything, which I'll show you in a second. But if you go to insurance and restoration, you have three different things. So if you, you're free to order whatever you want, whenever you want, using this industry selector to your benefit. You don't have to pick any one industry, and you can always go back and for the most part reorder all this stuff later. But that the point of this whole system is to make your life easier by giving you fewer options that are less relevant to you. So that's why it's organized this way. I'm just explaining it away.
Yeah.
But I'll show you a couple other things. So architecture and remodel has pretty much the same
since we're on that
as facility management.
Yeah, since we're on architecture and remodel, can I bother you about a side kind of comment project?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe
bother.
It's related
cool.
to 3D CAD. I had a client rent Planex Pro from me today, actually.
Oh, weird. Cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's violating any terms of service. Hopefully not. But
probably not.
Yeah, so he rents it and he does layouts and stuff. I think one project he had, they wanted to know if they could move an air vent, so he scanned it and then got the location of the air vent and then rendered it where it would
Yeah,
be.
cool.
The one that he's doing today is a tenant at a house in San Francisco, and you're probably going to judge when you hear the story. Is
I am very judgy.
Is telling the landlord that the place that he's rented is not up to code or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
You're probably trying to get some free rent out of it. So the landlord or the owner of the building hired this gentleman to go scan the property and get some plans made, because the city just wants the money. They don't necessarily care.
Yeah.
So they're like, just give us plans and we'll approve it.
Okay.
So he's gonna go out and scan it. And I was telling him about the newer release that I haven't tested yet, where you're scanning the space, normally, and then you're dropping the camera 90 degrees, and doing a second pass to get the vertical measurements, if that's right. So is that something he would probably do and then check the 3D CAD package? Is that
in general, more data is always better. So yep. The vertical scanning is a funky one in that you can scan whatever you want with it. So there are detailed capture requirements. I'm not sure where they are, but I'll send you
I saw that. Yeah, I looked at that earlier today.
But the vertical scanning allows for greater understanding and accuracy of obviously things that are vertical, but the distance between the ceiling of one level floor and then the floor of the next is obviously unknown unless you do something like that. So that's one of the benefits, is that would be accurate in the 3D model. I think it helps with staircases as well. But again, you choose what to scan. So that's I'm sure that's in the capture requirements, like showing that you can do stairwells and stuff.
So if he scanned just normally, would he be able to still choose 2D or 3D?
Yeah. So there is a risk here. The way this works is that it's probably pretty obvious, but 2D CAD is like a DWG working file, plus a set of plotted PDF drawings on title block. Okay. So in addition to the iGuide itself, so you're also going to get the 3D tour. The 3D CAD takes that up one more and gives you a 3D model for Revit, obviously. So the working file, but then in addition to that, it also comes bundled with elevations and a roof plan. So that means that if someone's going to order 3D CAD, it behooves them to get the roof. You don't have to do it, but it's included. So you go out. So the vertical scanning, or not vertical scanning, so scanning outside is really important if you want to get really accurate exteriors and like a roof plan. If it's a flat roof, obviously you have to go on the roof, otherwise they can't see it. Because the camera doesn't fly yet, unfortunately. Maybe one day. But the vertical scanning is obviously
IMS5 is going to be
cool. If it was just a drone or had like a clip and that could just fly off, that'd be incredible. I'm gonna tell somebody here that we should do that. So the 2D CAD and 3D CAD packages, the new ones that you see here on screen, are obviously they're very similar to our like working files that you can still order, the DWGs and Revit files, but they have that extra set of drawings added in, and then there's additional drawings on top of that for the 3D CAD package, if that makes any sense. So vertical scanning is absolutely useful for 3D CAD. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, no. So I was going to say, if we're outside scanning that exterior of a house to try to get that roof dimensions, I can't remember what's the throw on the LiDAR. Like, how far out is it looking? Do we have to have our camera up, 30 feet in the air, or can we...
No, it'll go pretty far. I don't believe the capture requirements say anything about elevating the camera to any degree, but you need as much information as you can get. So there could potentially be properties where you need to do that. I think that's a bit of I'd have to, it'd be property by property, so I don't know exactly, but no, for the most part, you just have to get scans that have like line of sight to the roof so that the drafters can see it and they can make a best guess about how that roof geometry is made. And they're going to measure based off of a combination of LiDAR data and then the images itself.
Am I putting you on the spot by asking the distance that the LiDAR can see?
Oh, it's 40 meters, but it's like it varies, right? Like the further away you get and the more ambient light there is, the fewer or the less dense the point cloud will be. So it really depends. And it's funny because some materials are highly reflective. And so, you'll go outside and you'll do a scan, you'll measure nothing, but you'll get like the Jeep like across the street that's like 100 feet away. And it's like, okay, well, I got the Jeep.
Yeah.
No, actually the LiDAR is really good outdoors. Shockingly so. I went down my street like a total nerd and I measured just in the middle of the street one day.
Yeah.
And I could get houses on both sides and they're 30 feet from the road. So
yeah,
it was just cool. It was like a weird streetscape. Not useful for anything, but it was kind of neat.
Yeah. No, it would be useful for street planning. I've actually had to do that. I've had to scan down the middle of the road.
I did it when we launched the Radix product because I was so excited about just getting the point cloud in the viewer and just to mess around with it. And it was neat. I did all around my house and it kind of did my neighbor's house, obviously, because they're next to mine. So it's kind of cool. And then I did up and down the street just for kicks.
Moving on to facilities management. What does facilities management include that residential doesn't include?
Right. So residential is iGuide Instant, iGuide Standard, and iGuide Premium. So those three products are intended very specifically for residential real estate and in three different ways. iGuide Instant is meant to be an extremely cost effective, like it's a good deal. iGuide Instant's nuts, but it's an AI generated floor plan, and it's very low cost, easy to make, very quick. You get it back instantly. That's why it's called iGuide Instant. And so that's for people who want to dip their toe in, but they're really not super fussy about like measurement or area. That's not included in iGuide Instant. It's really all about the experience of just looking at a floor plan and kind of clicking on it and seeing where rooms connect. iGuide Standard obviously is for marketing, and then iGuide Premium is also for marketing, but then it has extra detail in the floor plans, and then it has the VR built in as well. Now, when you transition, so it's really all about marketing during acquisition, or obviously when you're doing anything where you're trying to show the property, and make it attractive, and that could be rentals as well. When you go to something like facility management or architecture and remodel, it's more about things like construction or progress monitoring, we'll say. So that's kind of getting eyes on site, seeing the state and the condition of things. iGuide's great for that as well, but you don't really need a floor plan, strictly speaking, for those things. It's nice to have, but if you don't need a floor plan, Radix is perfect. It's super fast to make because it's just whatever you put in is what you get back out. You see the actual LiDAR point cloud data and can measure on it, and you can make lots of them. So it really suits that kind of go out, shoot it, and then like do it like repeatedly. You for the cost, you can create lots of different tours of the same property and then have them be snapshots in time, which is pretty neat. So Radix is really all about getting eyes on that property to see stuff. And then we go up to the next one, which is iGuide Premium. So it's the same iGuide Premium for residential real estate. I'll reiterate, these are just pre-selected options.
Sure.
So there's, they're like what we think you would want if you're into facilities management. But iGuide Premium is what it is. It's good for the same thing that Radix is good for. But then in addition to that, you're going to get floor plans, schematic floor plans. Some people need those. It might be good for, these are good for marketing. So from a marketing perspective, you can, export it to Google Street View, or you can use it to show off to tenants. The floor plans are good for that as well. You can use it to show off to tenants. You can also use it for space planning as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's, you've ordered lots of iGuide previews, it's 3D tour plus the floor plan, and it has that interpreted data, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can measure on screen. You can measure on the floor plan because it's there, and so on.
I don't know if you can see my order history to tell me how many orders I've placed, but
I can. Yeah, I can go look it up. I can
always been premium. They've never been anything else.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just always premium.
The next one up is the 2D CAD package. So the difference, I mentioned it before, is that you get a working DWG file for AutoCAD. You're going to get a set of drawings plotted on PDF, so that they're just PDFs. You can share them with whoever you want. And those drawings are often, required for stuff. So, again, space planning, because it's a DWG file and you have those plotted PDFs, it opens up more possibilities. So that means going into CAD software and doing stuff. It's also compatible. Obviously, DWG is very popular, so it's also compatible with some software. I'm not super well versed in facility management software, but there are different software suites that people use to manage those facilities, and they often import and use floor plans from various sources. So that's another way to do that. Also, you can hand this off, the DWG file off, that the working file, to someone, and they can use it to design off of. If a facility manager or a business owner or whatever, they can take that file, they can just give it to like a design build firm and say, I need 4 new dentist chairs or whatever, and 3 new windows, like redesign it for me, and they can do whatever they want in the DWG file. Kind of cool. The plotted PDFs are relevant for all sorts of things. They're for communicating a space to someone like who doesn't have CAD, which is awesome. It's not everybody has CAD software. The whole thing, the 2D CAD package, I don't know if I said this or not, it also comes with a premium iGuide. So you still get all of that stuff as well. You get the full 3D tour. By default, it has the premium built in. So you don't get to choose one or the other, but standard versus premium or iGuide Lite, you have to get a premium with the 2D CAD. But all the benefits of getting your eyes on the site are there. Where it gets interesting with 2D CAD is that opens up a lot of possibilities for people who are like collaborators. So you've got a contractor, you send them the drawings, you need a new HVAC system, I don't know, they kind of think about it, they plan it out, and then during that process you can give them the tour and you can show them the room, and they can like, oh cool, and they can look and they can measure it and do all that kind of stuff. And then that tour can be shared to anybody. So if you've got a contractor for flooring or windows or whatever, it can be a constant source of information. And then, obviously to your point earlier, it eliminates a lot of site visits because you can get most of the information you need. It doesn't completely necessarily eliminate site visits because you still have to sometimes go physically measure, or there's some nuance that's not captured or whatever. But that process of capturing data is really interesting. I know that we kind of take this for granted in sort of this industry where we capture data, but sometimes more data adds an enormous amount of value like later on, because someone can use that data for different things that you might not have originally intended. So you'll know this, you work in residential real estate, like for marketing, you just shoot a bunch of scans, you're like, I'm done. But I mean, for this, it's like more comprehensive. You want to keep it going, like scan more, scan doorways, scan all sorts of nooks and crannies and stuff, because someone might need that later and you're booking in an investment. We don't like penalize you for shooting more scans. It just takes time, obviously.
Well, and talking about the property manager on the old Navy base, they'll frequently ask me to do just photos or just the floor plan. And I started telling them, like, why don't we just start scanning the building? Now, whether I scan and take photos with my mirrorless camera or whether I scan and take photo extractions from the iGuide, at least you're starting with kind of the foundation of the data. And from that foundation, you can use it for marketing, use it for insurance purposes if there's ever a loss, use it for facilities management, use it for a remodel. There's a ton of different use cases versus ordering just photos or just a floor plan at one point and then later on deciding, oh, we need it for facilities management, go back out there and do extra work to get that data. Just get it.
Yeah, interestingly, if you capture a comprehensive and robust set of data, you can leverage that like just again and again and again. It's very cool. It is a snapshot in time, so that means that if something changes at that property, like you won't know because it won't be recorded in your previous scans. But
well, and I have 2 questions. Let me first one is in regards to with the facilities management. Am I accurate or inaccurate in thinking that I won't get that 1-year expiration?
No, it's still there, but it's a weird peculiarity with iGuide in that we actually don't enforce it, so it's technically limitless.
I know. It's just, waking up to 45 emails because that was the day that I uploaded them last year.
Do you want me to teach you a trick?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. As soon as you make them, just go and change the expiration date for like a decade from now.
go into editor and
I forget where it is, but yeah, I go click the blue edit button, and then there's somewhere there's an expiration date. You just change it.
okay, I can work on that. Next question is kind of in regards to a snapshot in time. There's a third-party company out there that I think handles this, and I was wondering if you guys have plans to handle this, where if I'm doing a site visit of a building under construction, and I go and I scan it, before the walls are put up, just to get the floor plan of the cement. And then once the walls are put up, I go back out and scan it before sheetrock is put up. And then once plumbing and electrical is put in, I go back and scan it before sheetrock, and then I go back and scan it after sheetrock, and I do like 5 or 6 different scans. Does iGuide have a way currently to display those
I know
on
what
the
you're
timeline?
timeline, yeah. So
or can it be coming? Because I think that would be super beneficial.
on the roadmap,
10 links, to one project. Yeah.
I can't make any promises, but it is on the roadmap. So it that's not an uncommon experience. Like, for example, Google Street View has this ability. You can just go and pick when it was scanned, and it's like a timeline. And so we know that because the iGuide is useful at different points in the property life cycle, of course, you'd want to have them lined up in a convenient way to access, so that if you scanned a property 10 times, you could be like, okay, I want to go see July, and then click on it. So on the roadmap, currently, you're right, though, you have to do a bunch of
side-by-side comparison.
Yeah. Well,
where,
that's a very insurance-y thing, but yes, sir, go on.
Yeah, where you're looking, at a doorway on one side before the work, and then the same angle of the doorway on the other after the work's been done.
Also on the roadmap, there are technical challenges to that, and you have to jump through hoops to do it, essentially, because you have to put the camera in the same spot each time. So how to make that easy for you is something that, there's no obvious answer, other than you just do it yourself. Essentially, just remember where you put your scans, or do you, when you're scanning, you have it as a reference. Like they're working through all this stuff, but yeah, that's on the roadmap too.
I have a feature request for that, though. The ability, while you're in the scan app or on the website, while you're scanning, to show historically the scan points where you've been, so that when you move the camera, it lines it up with that previous scan point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we have something coming.
They're all coming.
Okay. Well, but this one's soon.
Okay.
So we've got something coming that resembles the sort of auto map mode from our previous generation camera set. Did you have an IMS5 camera? I can't remember.
I have several of them. Yeah.
You have lots of them. There you go. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So there's a mapping mode where you walk around, you map stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea, but it wasn't perfect. It needed some work, and that camera system is it's a little peculiar. It's not like a big rotator and something. So we've got something coming that you can use with the Planix camera, Planix Pro, that basically will track you as you walk through a space. So the reason that's cool is that it's like indoor GPS.
Yeah.
When you look at the data on your smart device, like you see the dot that is, well, it's not you with the camera, but like you see yourself essentially. And as you walk around, you see it. So theoretically, that means that it's not explicitly meant for what your purpose was, but it'll do the same thing. If you had the data from the previous scan loaded, you could just put the dot in the same spot and then hit scan, and it would be identical. So and then changing the rotation is actually quite easy later in post. We had actually discussed that as being something that was sort of would be really, really useful when you're doing like side-by-side comparisons. So the thought was that rather than keep that whole set of extra data, we provide you with like an underlay, essentially. So when you're capturing new data, this is all UI that doesn't exist, but like you would see the previous scan, but then as you're capturing it would look different. So you knew what coverage you were getting without having to, you could see where the camera positions were and kind of what data you captured, so you can see where you need to go in the future. So yes, also on the roadmap, but that SLAM automatic tracking thing is like coming relatively soon.
Well, that was going to be my next one is, the IMS 12 should be some sort of like helmet mounted SLAM scanner.
I thought we agreed it was a drone. Are we gonna fly it?
No, that's 7. The 12 has to be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's like a walking robot, and it like asks, it like makes you tea, and then it's like, I will scan the property for you now, sir, or something like that. I think is how that works.
Well, there's I did a 15,000 square, no, 22,000 square foot warehouse the other day, and I was rushing through it. I got it done in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But I was like, if I didn't have to sit there and do this every,
yeah,
I could have got through it quicker.
There's a lot of interesting ways to leverage some of the technology that have like never really panned out, but that have always had cool promise. So for example, 360 cameras have the video capability. And when you record video, you're just creating a whole bunch of 360 images in a row. So it's like, well, maybe you put on the video, you walk through a space, you capture the LiDAR data and you can merge them later. But when there's movement, the images are not really very crisp. And so that the detailed images are required for really precise positioning. So that means that even if you did that, you'd still have to place it and wait anyway. So it's like, it's a bit of a wash. But yeah, you're right. Well, we're all, I mean, you're going to like the automatic tracking thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sounds like
but it's a step toward making things a little bit easier. Actually, the funny thing is you're probably not going to care because you already know what you're doing and you already know how the data works. That whole system is really designed for people who don't understand. Like, so what we found over the years is that when people, and this is a problem with pretty much all capture technologies across the board, like not just us, it's everyone else as well. When people look at the data on their smart device, sometimes they're just like not good at reading maps. Everybody's brain's a little different.
Yeah.
And some people, when they look at it, they're like, I don't know what this is. And so the whole point of that tracking mode is that it's meant to show you, oh, that's me. I'm walking. Oh, cool. Like I get it now. Like it's interactive. It's more like GPS. And so we're kind of hopeful that that will make it easier for like new people, who, maybe you hire someone and you want to get them up to speed a little faster, and this helps them understand the coverage, like how they have to go to certain places, scan things rather faster. So it's just easier for them.
Well, and in fact, I've hired people and given them the IMS5 as kind of like, this is what you have to learn on. Or you'll upgrade to the Planix Pro.
Yeah,
that's what
then they appreciate it.
Yeah, and so they've used the automat feature, and they've liked it. And I had one of my photographers say, there's a newer camera system out called the Planix Pro. I should be using that one. And I said, well, go buy it. I'm lending you my IMS5.
They're gear shaming you. That's
yeah. But I like the photo quality of the IMS5.
Yeah, it's good. I really, really appreciate people who use the IMS5 and then transition to the Planix, even though there's that caveat of image quality. It's kind of a wash, but it's awesome because it really gives you an appreciation for the size and weight of the Planix, but then some of the quality of life issues that just go into that. It's automatic alignment.
Well, and there's other, I think that I can turn the camera 3 times on the IMS5 and get the shots quicker sometimes than if I'm putting the camera down, going around a corner.
Yeah, it's true.
Or doing the 2 camera, the 2 picture merge into one. I think sometimes I'm more efficient with the
100%. So I do speed claims, like I'll test the camera by doing a shoot or whatever, and I'll write down all the timestamps for each scan. And like it can be, the IMS5 can be really fast because you can always you can stay so close to the camera that once you get good at it, you don't make mistakes anymore once you've done a few thousand. So it's like, you can just fly through a space. It's funny. I think there's diminishing returns in terms of speed for all capture systems across the board at some point. Like you still have to go into a space and like walk around and think about what you need. So I think most capture technologies are pretty much going to plateau at some point. There's no consistent way to measure that I know of, but the way that I use is like scans per minute. And so going any higher than like maybe 3 scans per minute means you're like jogging. Like, it's like, it's not a relaxing experience. It's kind of,
if I miss gym day before I have to go to work,
if you're into that, I mean,
Planix Pro is helpful because I've literally like sped walk around a house as I'm like trying to get through the house quickly.
I do the weird, like I love to try to dive out of the view of the camera if I can, like a weird like I'm pretending to be a spy or something. It's bizarre. I do enjoy that. It's kind of bizarre. But in a space like the one that you're in, there's nowhere to hide. It's
Yeah,
you have to
no,
use the
it's
two-shot mode.
yeah, and that takes a little extra time. And to your point, you know, with the whole auto mapping and having new photographers use that, a lot of people that, you know, there is a skill to doing this, to be efficient at scanning, and not waste scans and do scans that you don't
It's
need.
true.
And
it's like an art.
Yeah, and I've, you know, I've said this before, but I'll walk into a space and I feel like I'm the Terminator with some, you know, AR type vision where I know exactly where I would scan at in a space.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
why I said
in my mind.
It's not like people who have used any capture systems for a great length of time are so cavalier about it. They don't even, they're just like scan, 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 scan. You don't even think about it, right?
And people are, you know, clients are like, oh, well, the last guy that was doing this, you know, took 8 hours. I was like, well, you know, that would be me taking a nap for 6 hours and then doing the work. Like I could get it done.
So. You'd have to go shopping for a bit, you know. Yeah, take a big long break. It's very. I think that it's you know, I think it's funny. People react to these workflows in different ways. Some people we've looked at behavior, like as looking at the data, we see how long it takes people to sort of move around a property. And what we've noticed is that people they have bursts. They'll do like 10 scans and there'll be like a break for like a few minutes, and then they'll do 10 more scans, and then there'll be a break of like 10 minutes. And it's like, what are they doing in those times? I don't, you know,
checking
know, right?
emails. That'd be me checking
phone call, doing some work,
messages. Yeah, that would totally be me.
So it's funny that capture technology is often not even the barrier to speed. It's not even the limiting factor for speed. It's the human being, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen that when I do videos of me actually capturing. Why did I wait so long? And then I was like, oh yeah, I was on my phone checking something.
So I didn't mention it. Well, I did vaguely mention it, but the 3D CAD package, the last thing in the dropdown, obviously is meant to be 3D. So that means that it's much more useful for applications where people want to work in 3D. And then it contains those extra drawing packages, or drawing PDF plotted drawings rather. So elevations and exterior elevations, I should say, and roof plans. So if that's sort of your jam, that's how you have to get it. You have to go through the 3D CAD. It's not available as like an add-on or anything. Fun fact though, reflected ceiling plans are available. It's an add-on if they're here. Where are they? Reflected ceiling plans. So you can see it. If you order a 3D CAD package, you can add reflected ceiling plans. It was a much requested feature for many, many years. So now we have them. Pretty cool.
One thing that might be helpful that I don't see, and maybe you can point this out, is pricing for the different selections. Is nice.
Yeah.
Why do you laugh? It'd be nice
because this has come up a lot. It's like nonstop. So one of the one of the things that is suboptimal, not ideal, whatever euphemism we want to use here in this order form, is that pricing is not obvious, which you just pointed out.
Yeah.
So yep, absolutely. That is.
Well, I mean, if you're able to drop the export file in there first, you know, maybe that's towards the top of the list. You put the export file in, and then it will tell you how many scans you have, how many megabytes it is, roughly how much billable square feet it is, and then based on that tar file, you'll get pricing specific based on that square footage.
Yeah. So recent changes to this page were really to accommodate just like more stuff that we were offering. So to your point, 100% transparency in pricing and billing is also like known to us to be important. So we're going to try to incorporate that. Fun fact, as a hidden thing in the portal that you may or may not know about. Have you tried out the new calculator?
No, I was stuck on the chance to win one of $200 Amazon gift cards.
Wow, what a promo! I love it.
Where's the calculator at? I don't even see it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we hide it because we like to make things fun. If you click dashboard at the top and you look over here on the left, there's a thing that says calculator. Like it's easy to miss it, right? But it's kind of awesome because it's everything you could ever want, in the sense that you can pick your currency, obviously, but it's like kind of mapped like the create page. So if you pick, for example, insurance and restoration, and you pick standard sketch, and you put in your square footage, it vomits at a number for you. So this is your cost. So that's when you're quoting, you just keep this baby open and Go for it. It's awesome.
I did 12,000 square feet of iGuide standard. Did I do standard? I did a 3D CAD package. So three in here. Maybe I'll share mine.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I don't share it. But it says flat fee for the square footage, blah blah blah. So it looks like it's roughly $350 for the square footage, 12,000 square feet. iGuide Premium, and then the CAD is 2,500 minus 346 from the premium. So the total is what, 2,520. Yeah, okay. So for 2,520, you get a 3D CAD and a premium of 12,000 square feet. Nice.
Yeah. Our product, I would say 2D CAD and 3D CAD packages. There you go. Packages they're new, and we're still figuring them out. So if you have any feedback about any of that stuff, like what you get, how useful it is to you, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, so maybe
not necessarily right now or anything, but like
yeah, no, I was gonna say maybe I'm not the best on that because I've only
pressure
premium, and I haven't ordered Xactimate. I haven't ordered Instant.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you about it. The three different insurance things real quick if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So basically, if you choose insurance and restoration, you're going to get instant sketch, standard sketch, and premium sketch. The difference is very similar to iGuide Instant, iGuide Standard, iGuide Premium. Each of those sketch packages includes an iGuide. So the instant sketch includes an iGuide Instant, the standard sketch includes an iGuide Standard, and the premium sketch includes an iGuide Premium. So the sketch part is just what the insurance industry calls a floor plan, but it is specifically made in the form of an ESX file, with one weird exception. And that is the file format used by Verisk Xactimate, which is the software that's like the dominant, like 99% of the market uses it for insurance claims. There's lots of different types of insurance adjusters, but for the most part, there's a few competing products. There's Symbility by CoreLogic as well, but mostly it's Xactimate. But the industry is moving toward sort of like remote adjusting, not quickly, but you know, it's a thing. So that means that technically someone who's not an insurance adjuster can go create this comprehensive data set of like an iGuide plus an ESX, and then they can send it off to someone who's a desk adjuster.
My daughter flooded my bathroom, and
so that very calmly.
I called insurance, and they said they were going to send somebody out with the
camera
to scan it, and I scanned it. I sent it to them, and
nice.
I ended up getting like a $300 credit or something.
Shut up! That's so cool. No way.
But yeah, I was like, I have all the cameras here. I can just do it for you. Move the ball quicker.
Well, so that's a big part of what making digital versions of spaces can do for insurance. It can just accelerate the timelines. I mean, it does that for everybody, but it's nice. It just means like you don't. I mean, that's a bit weird that you have your own scanning technology. As most people don't, but this means less waiting. In theory,
very judgmental. No, I'm kidding.
It's not weird. I mean, I've got a lot of cameras too. I've got like 80 tripods. I'm not representative of anything normal. The interesting thing in terms of insurance that I'm learning, it's not my area of expertise, but I find fascinating, is like catastrophic events, like sad and tragic, but also really fascinating that there's this like these spikes in volume. A hurricane comes in, wrecks everything, and then people have to go in and you know, make claims for all these different people. So they have this sort of feast or famine kind of vibe, but it's a little bit less predictable. With residential real estate, you kind of know when the busy seasons are going to be in northern parts of the United States and Canada, right? And then things kind of level out at other times, and it's fairly consistent, not super consistent, but it's closer to consistent. Whereas IRC, insurance restoration, is like it's all over the place. You never know when someone's going to burn half their house off. Like it's weird.
Yeah, it's not a market I've really tapped into, but I have a Facebook friend who is based in Florida, and she reached out and has consulted me on a bunch of calls. That's what the business does.
Well, there's an opportunity there in the sense that the more houses you can get to, the more claims you can process, like the more money you can make, I guess. It's probably oversimplifying it, but a single adjuster, there's different types of adjusters, so I'm being a bit vague, but a single adjuster can only physically go to like so many properties. So that means if they can get the data, they could do the adjustment part obviously without going on site, and so they could have someone do the capture, and then they can split it, so kind of remote adjustment where someone captures a property and then someone who's sitting at a desk and they just do the process of the game. It's awesome. It's actually very cool.
That's exactly what happened. I think the founder of the business bought an iGuide and didn't know how to use it, gave it to her, said figure it out. And
that's good.
She called me and we did a few like virtual training sessions, and now she's like the iGuide expert out there, and she goes around and scans for insurance.
Right, high five.
Yeah,
good
and
stuff.
it's cool, but I'm like, I haven't even broken into that market, and I'm sure out here there's a ton of work for that. I just haven't.
Yeah, yeah. It's my understanding that there's I think it's public adjusters and private adjusters. Anyway, they work on behalf of different people, but then there's also sort of like fire adjusters are kind of their own thing, and then other catastrophe claim adjusters like different. I'm not an expert, but it's kind of all over the place.
Cool. So I think did you say you had some stuff for me, or
I would the calculator. It was just little things, nothing huge. So that slam thing I mentioned is pretty neat. So that's coming. We have a blurring tool that will be released very shortly. It was actually supposed to be released a couple weeks ago. It's very simple. It's automatically blurs faces, and then there's a manual aspect to it. So if you're doing any property with intellectual property in it or license plates or whatever, you can just manually go in and select things that the automatic blurring wouldn't catch. It's kind of nice, sort of cool quality of life thing coming down the pipeline.
Feature requests would be folders, maybe, or we can have folders for different tours. We could have a folder for
like on the portal, like organized
Acme property management company. We could have
it's funny that you mentioned that. So they're actively doing a whole thing right now with the portal. There's all these different experiences in the portal. You have the sort of the My iGuides page is kind of a search page, but it really is how you sort of view and how all of your content is presented to you. And then you've got the ordering process. And all these things have to be updated, or everything needs work. But then there's the management process. It's a whole thing. But they might be doing that. I don't actually know. I'll check. I'll get back to you on that one. It might be part of the scope of what they're working on.
I have a ton of pages of
it's known to us. You have to scroll
I'm
like days to find everything.
There's only two pages showing on the bottom. Well, no, there's more. 1, 2, 3, 4. It'd just be like, it'd be nice to have a go to the end or go to the last one, the last page.
Well, if I have designs, you want to give, like, I don't have them now, but if I ever get some prototypes, you want to test it, you want to be like a fun UI beta tester guy. We were actually considering sort of opening up advanced features to people. We've done it in the past, but we kind of gotten away from it. But opening it up to people just for testing purposes. I can put you on the list if you want.
That's my background. Cool. There is in IT and software development. So
perfect.
It's specifically feature requests and bugs in software.
There you go. It's perfect. You get access to, and there's not much, but there's like sneaky new things that we're trying out. You can see them ahead of time, or just not care. The iGuide lead magnet one, we kind of rushed the launch of that pretty quickly. But I did call a few people here and there and say, like, what do you think of this thing? And for the most part, they were like, yeah, it's all right.
No, it's good. I've been using it. I don't know how it's going. I haven't heard from the clients that it's been horrible, but they're getting it now. So
the whole, like, the good idea that's buried in that, it needs a little work, if I'm being honest, but the good idea there is that it creates this feedback mechanism whereby, like, your client says, hey, so many people reached out to me through the tour, wow, like, and so they can really see the value, because that leads and contacts speak to them. But what we're finding is that across, like, North America, the way the relationship between buyers and sellers is different, and agents work in many different ways. And so some people they're just not, they're like, I don't want people to reach out to me because they're all already represented by a buying agent, and I don't need to, like, I don't want to speak to them. And it's just so funny to think that you don't want to talk to people on your listing, but it is what it is. So yeah, we intentionally didn't put anything in there that would qualify buyers beyond the ability to ask questions. So asking questions kind of implies that someone's a little bit more serious if they have good questions, and maybe less if their questions are terrible. But there's no like, are you represented by anybody? Like, we didn't get in on that at all. And that is a sort of a one thing that people brought up, is that it can be a bit frustrating to get 5 leads, but then they're all already represented by somebody. So it's like, but then there's still leads on your listing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
potential offers.
I'm a data nerd, data whore, whatever you want to call it. And the more information I can know about who's looking at my tour, the better. Yeah. From my point of view, I want to know what browser they're using. I want to know what city they're in. When I send out my email blast, it's very interesting to me to see who's opening up and where geographically they're located. I'm like, oh,
I love it too.
Yeah.
Some people that aren't so much for metrics, but what we thought with the lead magnet was, we're like, well, if you're going to have metrics, we should have a good one. Like the traffic and time on site and referral. Like a lot of people just like, they don't care. They're like, this isn't tangible. But leads is like, oh yeah, 5 people reached out. Like that's just immediately obviously valuable. So it's kind of cool.
Even the ability to show where they're looking within a house and where they stopped at, or how much time they spent in a room, would be helpful.
Yeah, so we are considering that. Well, we've already done it, but it's kind of a thing. So it's funny that when we've watched people use iGuides, you know, on a small scale, it's a very bizarre experience. They do strange stuff. They tend to look at things that aren't like obviously important. They're important to them, so it's like, that's cool, you do you. But it's like they'll really focus on like light fixtures and stuff. It's like, okay, all right. You know, spend a lot more time scrutinizing the visuals than you'd imagine. It's very odd.
Well, that would be super helpful, I think, to the agents too, because I know that, you know, there's some agents that call me and they're like freaking out because their house has been on the market for you know 3 months instead of going in 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, it's probably price or it's interest rates or whatever. And they're like, well, no, we think it's the light fixture. Okay, well,
it's the paint. You got that carpet.
Yeah. So, you know, if they could see that, you know, somebody's in the house looking around and then they focus on that light fixture for 10 minutes, maybe they swap the light fixture out and they get a sale. Who knows?
Well, that was actually part of what lead magnet was kind of supposed to be, and it may become one day, but it was meant to be like a bit of a feedback mechanism. There's always this awkward conversation when the property is on the market for too long, because do you drop the price? Is the price way too high? What do people think? Are they really put off by insert random thing? Like, you don't know, right? So connecting people viewing the tour with the listing agent could alleviate that. At least there's more information. I think most people will agree that more information is generally speaking better. Okay, I have 1 minute. Do you have any questions I can answer in 1 minute?
Me? No.
Okay, cool.
I think we covered everything. Yeah.
Everything. We're good at this.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your time. Thanks for allowing me to record it. I'll throw the video out there so that hopefully we can enlighten some people, or, you know, just entertain some people. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
I'm pretty fun. You too. You know?
Yeah. I see you're in the office today, not at home.
Yeah. It's summer. My kids are home. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, I always come into the office multiple days a week. It's just kind of random where I'm at, sort of. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. You too. Cheers.
All right. Take care. Bye.